great to see everybody made it after those storms this week. That was some pretty crazy stuff. That was definitely the first one of those experiences for me. I mean, my hometown has had tornado alerts, but those are like water spouts. I'd never been a part of this, seen this Texas twister thing you have going on here, and quite the experience to watch that. I mean, Emily and I haven't had that happen before, so we were hunkered down. I got hunkered down in a third-floor apartment. I don't know if that works, but there was a little anxiety there. Amelia, my daughter, didn't seem to notice. But yeah, it was funny. Something happened during all that, so we're watching the news all nervously, and then I get a phone call from Trinity Lutheran Seminary, and the contextual ed director that was just here, her assistant was giving a call, and she goes, I go, hello, and she goes, is this Alex? I go, yes, and she goes, oh, whew. So you're okay then, you know. She had just turned on MSNBC, well, she had just gone there on her homepage on her computer at work, saw that and was like, great, got to call the intern, where is it? And gets to her book, called him, and it was just such a nice thing. But I kind of had to giggle when she did that because I've kind of now got a reputation around the seminary. I think I've ascended in the ranks. I'm kind of known as the disaster seminarian or the disaster intern, I guess, at this point. Because this actually isn't my first brush with nature trying to do something crazy, a natural disaster. I don't know how many of you know this, but during my first year of seminary, I took part in a January course. They're called J-term courses, and it was going to take me to Haiti. I was going to go to Haiti and see some of the fantastic mission work that was happening there through Lutheran congregations partnering with organizations in Haiti. And I was going to see, hands and feet of God at work in the world and see how this new mission was forming there. And like I said, it happened in early January of my first year of seminary. So does anybody remember what happened in January of 2010? Yeah, I landed in Haiti on Monday, January 11th, and the earthquake happened January 12th, the next day at 5. And I was in Jacmel, Haiti with 12 other students and some professors, and I found myself in the midst of this national catastrophe in Haiti. So this wasn't my first experience, but it was something that changed me. It was a transformative experience, to say the least. I don't usually preach on it. But the problem was this week I'm reading this text, and it just kept resonating with me, and I didn't know why. And I think what was happening was, in our story, Jesus says something quite absurd, and I was really stuck on it this week. And when he said, love others as I have loved you. Come on. I don't know many people that can do many things better than Jesus. You know what I mean? And then to say, to love as I have loved, I thought it was such a crazy thing to be said. And this story, this experience kept coming into my head of a person I met in Haiti, and all I could think of was my friend Maya. So our group had survived the initial quake. I was in the middle of the street when it happened, so fortunately nothing fell on top of me. Some of our group were in a hotel, and they all miraculously just avoided serious injury. And as a group, we started looking for high ground, looking for a safe place that was, free from falling debris. Not to mention we're in Jacmel near the coast, so there's like this mini tsunami thing happening there, so we were looking for the highest place we could go to. And we found safety at a refugee camp that the UN had set up at an airstrip in Jacmel. It's just this really little thing. Only little planes and helicopters could land there, but it's a big enough patch that the city could stay there and nothing would fall on them. And all the while during this, I kept watching my friend Maya. Maya was a child slave, in fact. He was a Restavik. He was, when he was a child, his mom couldn't afford to feed him. His father had died, so she'd given him to his aunt. And his aunt had turned him into a house slave. He made meals, he bought the groceries, but she fed him. That was the deal. And then he grew into a street kid after he ran away. He was living on the street, and now he's sitting on the board of directors of the St. Joseph's Home for Boys, and he finds home for children like he was. He's kind of a resurrection story in itself. But I was thinking of this guy, Maya, this whole week, because what had happened was, after the quake, Maya was sitting there trying to call his wife after the earthquake, because I just met his wife in Port-au-Prince, but we had gone over the mountain at this point. And roads were out, phones were down, and he just was calling repeatedly, hoping he could maybe get through to find out if his wife and his son were okay. And we're just watching this, and it just aches to see him doing this. He's trying to see if they're all right. And in the middle of that, he keeps running errands for us because we don't speak the language. We can't navigate the city. He's talking to the UN. He's translating for us. He's doing all these things. He's caring for us as if we were his own family, as if we were his own children. And he's doing this in the midst of this emotional turmoil. And we said, Maya, please, you can leave. You really don't need to be here. We'll be okay. I mean, if you can get to your family, you absolutely should get to your family. Because the roads are out, which means he would have to hike across the mountain. Now to us, we hear hike across a mountain. But this is something he could have done. He'd done it before. So we're saying, please, Maya, do this. And he looked puzzled and he said to us, I can't. We said, Maya, please, you don't have to stay. We understand. Verbo can help us. And this was another Superman-like character I'll have to talk to you about some other time. But we had somebody we thought that could help. And he says, no, you need both of us. There's a lot of you. And it's good this way. I need to be here right now. We said, but you can go. We know you're all right. We won't have any hard feelings. He says, my family are not strangers in Haiti. You are. If they're okay, then I know my family is being looked after by friends, by family. I know this. And if they're not okay, then I can't do anything anyways, but I know God can look after them then. I know God is looking after them in that case. And he says, I'm needed here. I love you guys. You're where I'm needed. What do you say to that? What do you say? All we did was just hug him and we said, we love you too. We love you too, Maya. Thank you. In the midst of this tragedy, in the midst of his own emotional turmoil, Maya was able to love a stranger. He'd only met me that morning. In the same way, he was able to love us the way he loved his children, his spouse. And I think in that moment, I finally understood what Jesus was talking about when he said that he wanted us to love one another as he had loved us. And the reality is when I saw it in Maya and I felt that love, I understood that this wasn't so impossible. This wasn't an impossible command. It was a very real, a very present gift, not a command. Maya in that moment might as well have been Jesus himself because he didn't care for us because it made him feel good. He didn't care for us out of obligation or for reward. In fact, he cared for us in the midst of his heart being split in two. Split in two for love of his family. He cared for us even though I watched him ache to contact them. Even though I watched him on those nights on the airstrip, weeping as aftershock shook that city into chaos and panic. But for some reason, he was able to love us. I think what I had witnessed was someone whose heart has been unleashed by the power of the cross, who's been unleashed by the power of a risen God. What I witnessed was a man who realized that resurrection is not some far-off destination, but a very present reality. And in realizing that, he was able to show this kind of love without an incentive, without selfishness. What I saw was a love just for the sake of it. What I saw was that love unleashed. A kind of love that doesn't just challenge you, but compels you to risk. Love that comes from a place of hope and trust that the love of God is with us here, now. God's favor is with us here and now. You know, I love my daughter more than anything. I would do anything for her, my wife, my family. There are friends, people I know that I would suffer for. And I thank God for that love I have for people, that you all have for those people in your lives that you would do anything for. But imagine being able to love a stranger that way. Imagine that incredible feeling walking with you, not just when you're around loved ones, but walking with you among strangers, all the days of our lives walking with this powerful, unleashed love. This isn't a commandment he gives us tonight. It's a gift. This crazy love is so different. It's a love that we sometimes only see in glimpses. But it is here. It is now. That's why it's a gift. It's present now, and you can see it in the way that I've seen you people care for each other. When you sit down and dine with strangers who are in need of comfort. When you can provide a bed for someone who needs a bed. When you can offer a helping hand to someone who can't get to their duties this week, so someone just steps in. I've seen you all do this. A shoulder to cry on's been provided. And it's not just a gift that we give, but a gift that we also receive as well. It's communal, just like the meal that we will all share together. When we actually taste, touch, and see that unbelievable, unleashed love of God, and remember that gift. The gift of love from our God, a gift shown most clearly to us by a man weeping on a cross. Weeping for the folks that beat him. For the people who put him there. That moment is when that crazy love of God becomes very real, very present. When God wept, and just as that event shaped the church and the first disciples, that gift continues to shape us tonight, shapes us every day, as it strengthens us. As when we're in the presence of, we come into contact to God and we meet Jesus in those moments. And I think that's why Maya was able to love that way. It's how we are all able to love selflessly in moments where the world would allow us to be selfish. He had an out. He could have left, but he couldn't. It's because in that moment he said something. He said something in those few words so eloquently when he basically alluded to the fact that death does not have the final sting. When he said that if his family did not survive, God will take care of them now. Because Maya had duties here. Maya was moved to love here. Finally able to love as God loves us, freed from sin, blessed, so that he might be a blessing. I call him Saint Maya now. Myself, I especially felt blessed on that airstrip in Jacmel when, with my years of college education, growing up with every advantage someone could get when it comes to learning about our God, growing up in loving churches. But at this moment, here's a man who grew up a slave, grew into a street kid, homeless, and I find him sitting next to me in a refugee camp. And he showed me something that I'd failed to grasp in all my years of reading these scriptures and hearing this good news. It's about love. Always has been. Thanks be to God for that. Amen.